All right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 29 of Hard Knock Hawks. I'm Anthony, along with Chris, Leon, and Marco. Today we have a special episode in light of some sad news for the Atlanta Hawks. Today we have Tim and Mikey from the SportEthos Atlanta Hawks podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself, guys?
Yep. Hey, and thank you for having us on, Chris, Leon, Marco. Great to be here. Unfortunately, yes, the Hawks season ended today, but we've got a lot to discuss this week with them losing both playing games, and this is an important offseason for this team. So looking forward to discussing it with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having us on, it'll be interesting. I think that I met all of y'all through X, just following the Hawks, and I think that we're definitely going to have a pretty good conversation about the direction the Hawks are going right now.
So I want to um, talk about a few topics before we get into our main discussions. Um, because the Hawks did lose both playing games, the Kings pick location is going to be a little different. We talked about a lot throughout the podcast throughout the year. So the Grizzlies, as of this recording, they are still playing their game, but they're leading by double digits. So because the Grizzlies are probably going to win their playing game against the Mavericks, the Kings pick will most likely land at pick 13. Timeout passed, Anthony. Hi, this is Anthony, who's in the editing room, and I just wanted to just record this little segment real quick because I wanted to clarify something about the Kings pick, because I felt I explained it wrong again, because this pick is like incredibly confusing, and I'm just kind of tired of explaining about it over and over again. But basically, the Kings pick is not going to be the 13th pick. It could be the 13th pick, or it could be the 14th pick. And we will not know that until May 12th, which is the NBA draft lottery. It's gonna be determined by a coin flip. Um, and the odds are gonna be, determined on that day, obviously. So depending on what pick it is, it's gonna really determine whether it's gonna be ours or not. So the 13th pick has a 94% per chance percent chance of conveying towards us, while the 14th pick has a 97% chance of conveying towards us. So while the 13th pick has obviously a better chance of giving us a better player, technically, the 14th pick has a better chance of obviously landing towards us. But, if you're thinking about it, 94, 97% chance in like probability, that's not really that much different. But either way, it's in the 90s, mid 90s. So you could basically say that the Hawks almost landed it, but the Kings could get lucky. So we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to clarify it. We will not know that we got the Kings pick until May 12th. So Kings could get lucky, they may not. We'll see what happens. We'll go back to our regular show. But sadly, with the Hawks pick that everyone always talks about that we traded to the Spurs, that's gonna be a lottery pick for the Spurs, and it has a potential chance to be a top 4 pick. That sucks. But the Lakers pick that we have, it's still the same 22 to 26 pick. But back to the play-in, we did lose both play-in games to the Magic, which was a blowout loss, and the Miami Heat, and we were the first team in play-in history to lose to a tough seed. So I'm going to ask you, Tim, what were your thoughts generally on the Hawks' performance against the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic generally?
I thought that it was going to be a tough matchup for both teams. Both teams are really physical. Both teams were, had the height advantage. Atlanta, without Jalen Johnson, it's been rough for the Hawks just with physical teams that have size. And, I thought for the Hawks team, not as much in the Orlando game, but in this Miami game tonight, they played really well. They competed, they fought in this game. whether they went down 17 but fought back in this game. I thought, the matchups in general were going to be tough for the Hawks to overcome, but I thought the Hawks played decently. Now, in the Orlando game, they played pretty rough, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna ask you, Mikey, then everyone else in the room. Did you think that Atlanta was gonna lose both playing games?
I thought honestly, the Orlando Magic game was going to be much closer than it was. The Hawks just could not generate any offense, and I think in contrast with the Heat game, that was due to the Magic's really good defense. I think they were second in defensive rating this season. The Heat are like Orlando Magic light. Now, they're not as bad on offense as the Magic, but the Heat still rate ninth in defensive rating. I thought this game against the Heat was also going to be really close. So I expected two close games. They didn't do it against the Magic, but against the Heat, I did expect them to win, honestly, because the Hawks I thought they had the matchup advantage and the size advantage against the Heat. With how well Mo Gay and Onyeka Okongwu had been playing specifically, I thought they could take it to the Heat. And they came back, from a 17-point deficit, took a 6-point lead in that fourth quarter. But unfortunately, the Heat just got really hot from deep. And Davion Mitchell, for whatever reason, coming into this game, Davion Mitchell was 9 of 10 from deep in the final two meetings with the Hawks in the regular season. And that shooting luck for him just continued against this Hawks team in overtime. They just could not stop Davion Mitchell. And Tyler Hero was pretty good throughout the entire game. So if you're the Hawks here, they just needed to defend a little bit better. And Quinn Snyder said it after the game. He said, yes, the Heat, they needed to play better defense, but it's honestly hard to play defense when the Heat start the overtime 4 or 5 from deep. So they just couldn't sustain that high offensive shooting to match that 3-point shooting for the Heat, and they fall there. So I don't know. Ultimately, I thought they were going to win this Heat game. They played okay. They played well enough to win. I thought they competed hard, but fortunately fell short.
Before I get to everyone on the Hard Knock Hawks side, I do want to give a shout out to myself for giving a correct prediction on who would win the Hawks Orlando game, even though we lost. So I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back there. But sadly, I was wrong about the Hawks Heat game because for some reason, like I honestly thought for the Hawks Heat, right? I really did think that they would have a better chance, but like, what did you guys generally thought about how the Hawks started for the most part? Because it seems like they were just all out of sorts for the most part. Like it seems like they just were just kind of unprepared, and maybe it was just they were just I don't know like the best way to describe it for the most part. Maybe like you can help me, like Chris or
Sure.
Leon. Yeah,
I mean, it's a team that spent like most of the first half of the season trying to like establish an identity and a formula, and then a guy who was a major part of that went down, and he was the main cog in like keeping that offense running, right? Like it's
uh-huh.
hard to live on jump shots, right? And without Jalen, you lost your guy that was converting twos. He's huge in transition. So this is a team that was pretty much living and dying by the three. If they were on, they were going to be in games, and if they weren't, then it was tough. And it was a team. If Trey's going to have to get layups against bigs in the paint, it's going to be tough. They just didn't have the jumpers early. The Niang and Levert kind of came on and gave them a little bit, but yeah, it was just a team that is if you can't get to the rim, it's tough to make your money. You know what I'm saying? So it's the lack of finishing and secondary ball handling. The guys were a little nervous, I think again. But yeah, the shots weren't falling, and this team really has to hit their
Especially
jumpers to compete.
Zach's in the Heat game, which is just
Yeah.
it's unfortunate for him because I thought like especially in that second half of the season, like he was just doing really well, and then um he just had a really bad night in the Heat game, right? Like
Yeah, and he had a lot of open looks too. That's the another unfortunate part. Like those
yeah,
were looks that he was shooting above 40% for a
Mhm.
good month or two, and just couldn't knock him down tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I respect to him for getting him up. It was it's not easy to take those shots in elimination games, man. It's really easy to defer and let someone else take the hard shots. So I will kudos to Zach for getting him up. It was just a tough night for him. He didn't have it, and um, he can't like force the issue, right? So he was trying to get what he could, but after that cold start, it was pretty much just best for Levert and Yang to be out there.
One of the go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, I think the end of the day is what we've been saying. Most of the season, you don't have the size needed to win a lot of these games. Same thing with the Magic offensively as it was against the Heat. You don't have anybody who can finish over through contact. You don't have anybody on the available roster who's doing that with consistency. It's going to be tough to win because in the playoffs, win or go home situation. Teams are going to force you off the 3-point line and make you make plays in the lane. And they're going to rotate over and meet you in the lane as well. So we didn't have guys who could hit those shots over. And sometimes that's all it boils down to on top of not being able to get rebounds for a number of reasons. And, of course, not being able to stop anybody from getting to the paint whenever they want to. So it was a tough one. Shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies doing their part for us. But I'm not going to lie to you. I am excited to get to the offseason.
Chris, I thought you brought up a pretty good point because you're talking about how this team lived and died from the three, and for all season, it seems like we've been talking about this Hawks team that they don't have a lot of shooting as they've had in seasons past. And when Jalen Johnson went down, this was a team that had to live and die from the three, and they weren't that good of a 3-point shooting team, and still able to get 40 wins. Honestly, they did win more games than I thought they would when he went down. To get to 40 wins is still pretty good, but obviously, without you having your own pick, you still want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things too where it's the pace. The Hawks had to play with pace every game if they wanted to have a chance at winning it. And in the games they had to play in the half court, as Chris brought up, I mean, you're talking about shooting and they just don't have enough of it. And Zach's so streaky shooting right now. And I think that'll get better. I think that Zach's, on a great track right now, and his shooting throughout the season got better, but he would still have those games where he would shoot 0 of 5, or then he would shoot 5 of 8. Like it just, those nights happen a lot. And when those nights happen and he's shooting, the Hawks play really well. But also, it just seemed like whenever the Hawks struggled shooting, the only way they could generate offense is pace. And I don't think that is ultimately where the Hawks need to be. They have to be able to be functional in the half court as well.
Yeah, especially in the postseason playoffs when things do slow down, you're playing against teams that are the one they're going to be protecting the ball more, but they're better teams, right? So they're not just going to be making bad decisions and letting you get out and run. You're gonna have to get stops and earn those opportunities. So, yeah.
Now, one of the main criticisms I've seen from the Heat and from the Heat and Magic playing games, and I think this is obviously a really common thing that we talked about here on the podcast, is the rotations. And I know that's a pretty tired thing to just talk about, but I do think there is like a pretty fair criticism to talk about in some respect, because despite the fact that there is like obviously a lack of depth on the roster because of Jalen and other players being out, you could see, like, I think in certain games where, especially like in, for example, like the Orlando game, where certain decisions I felt Quinn made during these lineups where they just managed to just like increase the deficit for the Hawks. It just made the situation generally worse for the Hawks. And I think one of them was like, for example, like with Niang and Barlow, for example. I think that was probably one of the bigger ones that I think people just generally pointed to. He thankfully avoided that. Quinn thankfully avoided that during the Heat game because, as people noted, Onyeka played 50 minutes in that game, which is when you think about incredible. But it's what you guys generally thought of Quinn's rotation stuff generally.
I'll go first on this one because I don't think it's that much to tackle on. But I mean, it's like we said last episode or episode before, the rotations might be questionable, but it just so happens that your guys in that the good part of the rotation are the only real NBA players you have. Like you can get mad that Mo isn't playing 30 minutes, 35 minutes, but it's like teams are going to realize that Mo isn't a factor on offense, so they just play off of him. Now you're just getting somebody doubled for no reason. Or now I will say the Barlow and Niang one is actually very questionable. I will give you that one. But he went away from it. Or again, when we see the 3 guard rotations, it's like it just so happens that some of your best the best players on your team are just happen to be guards or small for the position they play. So it's Quinn was doing what he could do with what he had. It isn't like he can make Barlow grow into a 7-3 center overnight, or he couldn't make Terrence Mann be somewhat playable again, or Niang a shot a self creator, shot creators. Like he
And obviously, like you said, Terrence Mann's somewhat playable again. I mean, that's part of the problem, right?
Well, I think the old saying is your rotation is only as good as your player availability.
Yeah.
So that's just the way I look at it for that. I mean, for me, you don't see probably 50% of these guys if Clint Capella or Larry Nance are healthy, or Jalen Johnson as well. I mean, we could go on for days. Kobe Buffkin, it just the laundry list of injuries for the Hawks. It makes the rotation so much more wonky.
Yeah, it's funny. I think somebody brought it up earlier today. I don't remember who it was, but on Twitter, they were like, the Hawks added all this center depth, and all the centers went down except for Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah.
and then Mo Gay obviously started playing center in the last 2 weeks of the season and looked pretty good in that backup role. But I guess you could take Mo Gay's great defensive development towards the end of the season as a silver lining for that, because who knows if he's getting these minutes if all these guys are healthy. He's probably not.
No.
But at the same time, there's I don't think Dom Barlow, Mo Gay, or even George Niang, even though I thought he played very well against the Heat, he probably doesn't play as many minutes if Clint Capella and Larry Nance are healthy.
Yeah. I mean, what I'll say regarding the rotation criticisms is, one, it's fair, right? Everybody wants to win the games, and if you make a decision and you win, it was the right decision. You make a decision and you lose, it's the wrong decision. I think that like Tim's point, it really comes down to the talent. You only have so many options. The scheduling is weird, right? If you're trying to stagger your bigs so you can keep one guy on, well, now you're probably weakening yourself in other parts of the game. And when you might want to go real strong, now you can't go do that as long as you want. But realistically, these guys played half the game straight, so it was pretty crazy tonight. But yeah, it really just comes down to the talent available. I think realistically for me, I'm not gonna be mad at Quinn until he has a roster that I think is befitting the criticisms. Like if I can sit there and be like, all right, that guy should be playing and he's not playing, right? That's one thing. But we got guys playing that shouldn't be playing. Like we have the opposite problem. So until Quinn is leaving talented guys out of the rotation and for bums and doing stuff like that, I don't really have much to say about it.
And honestly, the inverse, on the Oklahoma City Thunder, the NBA's best team this season, Aaron Wiggins was out of the rotation for that team, and for the first 1.5, 2 months of the season. And I thought going into the season, this was the top 10 player on the roster. And Mark Daigneault, in my opinion, best coach in the league. And there were Thunder fans clamoring about their rotation. So I think it happens to a lot of fan bases. But overall, yeah, especially with the Hawks injuries, I think there was better decisions that could have been made. But honestly, when you put into context, there's not many more options that Quinn Snyder could have gone with.
Yeah, I mean there are literally are only so many, and like I get like a lot of fans when it comes down to it was coach bad or coach stupid, rotation bad, right? That's most fan bases summation of their coach, especially the ones that
And
don't win.
yeah, because I mean, like obviously, it's like when you criticize a coach, like we like obviously like you don't know all the game plans and stuff, and like rotations are like the main thing that you're able to see, right? So, you want to say something, Leon?
Yeah, man. You gotta know your personnel. You just gotta know your personnel. And I don't know what you really expect from George Niang and Dominic Barlow playing together. A lot of people say, "Well, why are we playing them? They're trying to save minutes." I think one of the most interesting things about you know good teams, their bench, they win their bench minutes, right? And we see often the Hawks will put out a five, and then you'll say to yourself, "Okay, this lineup is supposed to score, right? Or this lineup is supposed to defend." And you very rarely have lineups that are going to be able to do both outside of the starting lineup. Even today, the starting lineup was probably the only lineup you saw consistently that was really built to do both score and defend. Now, the further issue of that is what you're seeing often with the Atlanta Hawks the last 2 months of the season is you're seeing lineups that are just out there to survive. They're out there to buy time for whether the player is Trey and Yucca, Zach, Moji, Dyson to get back on the floor so that we can actually cut down a lead or extend the lead, change the point, that kind of thing. It's just the way it's set up right now. A lot of people could blame Landry, and that's fine. Um, for not putting the correct roster around this team. Obviously, the team wasn't going to win 50 games from the start. But I think you have to ask yourself if you're zooming out, you have to zoom out now. If we had two of the three guys, let's not even say Jalen. Let's just take Jalen out of the equation and say you had Nance and Capella. So you had a real center rotation. You could match two big lineups that anybody played throughout the season if you wanted to, and still have enough scoring or shooting or ball handling on the floor to score. If you have carrots out there, I guess. So I understand the frustration. Fan bases don't like it when their teams lose, and the easy scapegoats are, what your odds immediately go to: the 6'8" center, the 6'1" point guard, who got ejected from the game, and the head coach. And sometimes it's just the way it is. But we got to be smarter about this as fans and ask ourselves, are you expecting the lineup, not the lineup, the rotation that you saw tonight or on Tuesday night to win against the team that plays you? You just got to be serious about it. That's all. Don't be mad, man. We got a lottery pick.
I mean, that's true. I mean, we did get a pick in the end, so
Yeah, and the pick we get is better than the pick we give them to the Spurs. So realistically, the
I don't
trade
think
worked
so.
out because
Actually,
it's low key
It's a
trading
coin.
up.
It's
You know
a
what I'm
coin
saying?
flip, I think.
Nah, we got
no, I know. I think it's 13th.
it. Is it?
The 13th, I think Hawks
Brad
pick
says
12.
coin flip.
Oh, it
Brad
is?
says coin
Okay.
flip.
Never mind. All right. My bad. My bad.
But I think, the what's the name says it's 13. The old thingamajig.
It really is
Whatever.
unfortunate because if the Hawks have Jalen, they probably have enough talent to win these games, and they don't have.
Yeah, they
Should
will.
have
Uh-huh.
enough time to win like 3 or 4 of these, 4 or 5 of these games.
Oh yeah, not even going outside of that. Yeah, I mean, just a
Yeah.
whole lot of games that they would have won if they just had.
I
Jalen.
don't think
I think it was Zach Langley said, "Jalen, can you just give me 12 minutes? Man? Just give me 12 minutes."
There
Yeah,
was there was a graph that came out today that showed the estimated wins lost, and I think the Hawks were top 6 or so in that, and they
Yeah.
had
Mm-hmm.
10 or so win. No, let's see, I'll have it here. They had 8 wins lost, and they were 8th in the league. So I mean, you look at that, this team could have legitimately been sniffing 50,
I think
45 if they were totally healthy.
yeah, I think it's not a hot take to say that the Hawks, given just a little bit more healthy, that they're competing at least for the 6th seed. Just competing. I don't think that's too much of a hot take.
Because the one thing I tell these guys a lot, I was like, man, before the season, I was like, we're gonna be a tough team to beat for 50 games. But those other
Man,
32,
he was exactly
we
right.
gonna be hurt, bro.
Matter of fact, hold on. I gotta make sure you didn't curse us, bro. Where's game?
Oh my
50?
god.
I was
That's
like, we're gonna
crazy.
be
Hey,
really
man,
hard.
he wasn't lying too much, man. You know,
Man.
I need to
always
see.
injuries
I need
for us.
to hold on, because I have to go see what game 50 is. Like I have to.
Oh,
That's
man.
crazy.
You always got to count in injuries with us, sadly.
Yeah.
It's part of the game.
Let's move on to, I think, a more positive topic. But let's talk about, I think, Onyeka's performance tonight, because I think that deserves a highlight, because I thought Onyeka was not probably. I thought he was basically the best player tonight. Like I mentioned earlier, he played 50 minutes. He basically managed to help bring back the lead. Let me check the box score real quick, just so I can make sure I got it right
12
here.
of 19 from the field, 4
Yeah.
of 8 from 3,
28
no
and
turnovers,
12.
an
Like
assist, 3 steals, and a block.
he had a really great game, and like he's playing like a real legit top center in the league.
Mm.
And I think that
They don't
probably
fry you
should
for
just
that.
be more talked about, honestly.
They
And
don't
I'm gonna
fry
ask
for
you
that,
about Marco, Onyeka's
What's
biggest
up?
fan throughout the podcast. What you thought about his performance, and what you think about his future on this team?
Hey man, he
Because
ate.
I mean,
He played 50 minutes and he showed up for those 50 minutes. He did his part and he told Quinn in the post game he told Quinn pregame, hey, if you need me to be in, I can be in. And he showed up and played 50 minutes. He was hitting threes. I think he's more confident in that shot now. So I think he did what you could ask him to do of this game, I feel like. So he did it. He left it all on the floor. He had a double-double. I can't really criticize him on anything tonight. And he played 50 minutes without like really fouling either too. So I think he's did a good job tonight, man. Hope he goes home and gets some needed rest and he gets to have an off season this time. No injury, no
he's
lingering
healthy.
injuries,
Yep,
no
he's
sickness. He
healthy.
gets to have a real off season. So yeah,
Onyeka
Yeah, he
Okongwu
spoke about it. He spoke
drives.
about that.
Onyeka Okongwu drives can save this team, man. They can save this team. I'm telling you, like, just
I
wait on
remember,
it.
Leon, I remember each time he would pump fake and drive to the lane, you would quote tweet it or post it and say something about it. But you're right, though. They can change so much because you need
Yeah.
it with Jalen and Trey.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a ton. I mean, that's
yeah.
like the fake off the DHOs, bro. They don't do any of that. There's no like the three is now a threat, right? But you got to add the drive, and that'll back that guy up. You get yourself some options.
Well, I think Onyeka too is backing it all up with just more of quantity. Like, I mean, he took 8 threes in this game, and
That's
I,
crazy.
yeah, and I think that's awesome though, because that belief and confidence in that shot's going to be huge for the Hawks. Because
Yeah.
we talk about Okongwu how he does lack size, but on the offensive side, that spreads the floor so much and allows guys like Jalen or Trey to get downhill and not have to worry about a center being in the middle of the paint, just standing there like when Clay Capella was here.
Man, like I just don't. I'm telling y'all, like all these Hawks fans that want to trade the flow, I'm telling y'all gonna be the same people mad in a couple years when they're like, oh man, he really looks like Al Horford now. Oh, he really looks like
Yep.
Miles
Well,
Turner.
the thing about those fans is that he doesn't make enough money for you to need to be trying to run him out of town anyway. He's on a good deal. It's a great contract. Like he makes backup center money, and he's giving you he's giving you plus production on the contract. Like that's fine. Like there's no issue there. You just gotta fix the rest of the roster.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for Onyeka being under that great deal that Landry got him under, I think that, it just allows so much flexibility with the roster now. You moved off DeAndre Hunter's money. You moved off of Bogey's money. You have Clint Capella's money, Larry Nance's money coming off the books. The Hawks are going to have money to spend this offseason, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Definitely. This is
A lot of
the offseason they kind of been positioning themselves for some time now, right? So it's all kind of
Took
coming
a while.
together.
What you're
Took a
looking
while,
for, like you're looking for a more sustainable repeat of the 2020 offseason, right?
Yep.
You made the deadline move to, give yourself some flexibility, and now in
I
the
forgot
offseason,
Karis LeVert.
Yeah, I mean,
Karis LeVert.
yeah,
Yes,
he's on the list. He's
Yeah.
on the he's an asset at the end of the day.
Yeah, sign and
Yep.
trade option there.
So you got financial flexibility. You got a couple extra picks in your back pocket. I know we don't have control over our own picks. However, you still have four first round picks over the next 3 drafts. So you got opportunities to make something shape.
A lot of trade exceptions too. Like
Yeah.
5 of those.
Not very
Yeah, you could probably absorb Quentin Grimes and one of them bad boys.
I think he's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yep.
sign and trade.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But now I want to ask you guys, Tim and Mikey, generally, I think this is the first time we're gonna hear like your guys' opinions generally about. I think earlier you guys mentioned about what you guys thought about the regular season, but what do you guys think the Hawks could improve on for the most part on this roster in the future potentially?
For me, I think the number one thing is it's obvious it's the shot creation, getting another guy who can kind of take pressure off of Trey this season. When you're looking at Jalen Johnson, and obviously he took a big step forward before he went down, but he's still developing his game in the half court a lot. Dyson Daniels likely to win Most Improved Player, but he's still definitely developing offensive player. Zachary Risase obviously was 19 for most of this season, and Onyeka Okongwu and Clint Capella at center. There needs to be more offense in that starting lineup, whether it's creation off the dribble, whether it's shooting for the entire roster. So for a lot of the past Hawk seasons, you've been talking about, point of attack defense. This team was allowing too many guys to get in the paint, opposing guards, causing the bigs to get in foul trouble, and it kind of disrupted the entire flow. But now that the Hawks have a wing core of hopefully Dyson Daniels and Zachary Risase, and with the improvement of Mo Gay and Onyeka Okongwu on the defensive end, maybe I think you look to include just a focus on a little bit more on shooting and shot creation this offseason. And if you look at this draft, there's a lot of guys that can do that on the wing position from the perimeter. So I think that this is a good offseason and opportunity to try to solve that issue coming up in the 2025-26 campaign.
Yeah, for me, it's shooting as well, and size. The Hawks just need to get bigger in general, and they need to get guys that are a little bit more physical, but also shooting. Like going back to a game tonight, you have a guy in Duncan Robinson that comes off Miami's bench, and his job is precisely to come off the bench and just launch threes. Um, he does kind of hurt them on the defensive end, but he's a specialist, a guy that just gets paid to shoot threes, and I think that the Hawks need a guy that they could depend on to do that as well to come off the bench. So that's something I'd be looking at as a bench piece that's a shooter. But also, like Mikey said, you need somebody that can self create as well. So it'll be interesting. I think the Hawks, me personally, I think the Hawks probably try to go make a splashy move and try to get a big name. But we'll see.
What do you think that big name could be? Does
I
it
mean,
start?
there's a lot of them out there. Zion Williamson's name's been in the media a lot lately.
Interesting. Okay.
Not a guy that could be available. Me personally, I'm not picking Zion. I just don't think he has the love for the game that I think I would want out of a player on my team.
I
But
don't know about that, but we'll see.
but for me, I'm looking at a guy like Cam Johnson. a guy that can play kind of that hybrid 3-4, can launch the ball. And in Brooklyn, he's been phenomenal.
Oh. I for it
Wait.
when the off season is complicated because whatever you want to do, you're gonna have to do a few other things, right? I think they kind of have to remodel the bench. I think you have your core probably five that guys you plan to bring back, and I think bare minimum you're looking to fill out that bench so that you can kind of play better basketball throughout the season and get to the postseason. I think if you just get bigger, more physical, improve the defense, you'll get there, right? And if you're looking to go past that, yeah, you probably might need to do something a little bit splashier. Like Tim said, I think there's a lot of guys that could change teams. I think we'll see multiple names pop up as these teams get eliminated from the playoffs. I think the Hawks are a team that people talk about trading Trey a lot during the season, but as soon as the playoffs come, teams lose, and now you hear like this guy wants out, this guy wants out, this guy wants out. So, or guys don't get offered the contracts they want, right? So there's some situations that could pop up, and the Hawks are in a position to be opportunistic. I think, which is important. I think they have a nice group of young guys that teams will value highly if they want to make a bigger move, and I think they kind of have the core. And if you can do something and keep 2 to 3 of Dyson, Zach, and Jalen, I think you're cooking. Um, Obviously alongside Trey to get him some help. I think you can put yourself in position to win 45 games if you do the right things right and get the defense where it should have been. Right, we talked about how just losing Jalen alone and the other injuries cost us 8 games. So yeah, I think there's a lot of paths the Hawks could go down. We got these draft picks, so yeah, we got a lot of options.
All right. Thank y'all. I agree generally on like getting a bigger, splashier offensive talent. I think for the most part, like for years, like we can't just at this point, with especially with Trey's extension, which I am going to talk about in a second. Um, I think you just cannot just have like Trey just generally be the guy anymore at this point in his career and at this point on the team, because for a lot of our guys, they're just basically either play finishers that just can't finish their shot, or just guys that are just really good in transition, and that's just really it. And that's just gonna be an issue, and that's just been a real consistent issue for like years now. And we saw it against even the Heat, where when Trey just runs out of gas, the game's basically over because no one else can really just create their own shot or really just do anything. So I just think,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
oh my bad. Now I'll let you finish that answer.
Oh, you can go ahead. I was basically done.
I was gonna say, while that is what you're saying is true, I do feel like a lot of the issues or concerns that you are having or listing right now,
Yeah.
Jalen kind of takes away from some of those issues.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because like Jalen isn't the best at scoring in the half court now, but I
Uh-huh.
believe in another, maybe this off season, if he's by the time he's 100% to get into contact and all that, he might improve at that position a little bit. Because even when teams would try to trap, like early in the season, pre Jalen injury, when teams would try to trap Trey, he could easily dump it off to Jalen, and Jalen is either going to attack the rim, and the help defender is either going to crash down to where Jalen get an easy kick out, or he's going to take it himself. He had options, and that's like what you just needed somebody to do to take some pressure off it, because you only can double Trey for so long until you start letting Jalen go off. Then at the time they were letting Hunter go off. It's like you only can keep doing it so much. But now it's easy because we don't have that Hunter anymore, or we don't have Jalen. So now our problems are just way more exposed. And when you're trying to find, I know we were talking about a splash, like you can't do another DeJounte situation. Like you can't go all in and try something. Like you really have to make sure that is that the splash you want, or do we just continue to do what we're doing now? You can't just go in, because like, yeah, Zion makes sense. Zion 100% makes sense. But now what if we overpay for Zion, and now bam, Zion's out for the year and something like that, just including history. So it's like
I mean, to be fair, like, let's just say, like, we just basically get some role players and, just continue and try to, like, just see how our young players improve. Like, what if, let's just say, Jalen is just basically the same of last year, and let's say, like, Ricochet actually just gets worse or Dyson gets worse. Like, we don't know what's, like, going to happen. Like, we just can't necessarily assume it's just going to be another DeJounte trade. Like, at some point, I think,
you're right.
like, we have to, I think, just have to take the risk and just see what happens.
I mean, but we've already
Especially since
we've taken that risk, so I feel like this time you have to actually be smarter with the risk.
I mean, I feel like this could be a smarter risk, like, especially with someone like a forward, like someone like Zion or another forward, because for one, they probably pair better together instead of like DeJounte, who's just a point guard that can't play the shooting guard and is bad on defense, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean it's a price and fit thing, right? Like you're
Yeah.
saying, like you don't want the DJ price that was
Uh-huh.
too much. You were desperate, and there was competition. You had other teams that were probably willing to pay similar, but it was the fit too. And if you get a guy that fits, you can make it work. And I think that's a big part of it had a space the other day, and we were talking about Zach, and they were like, "Who's going to be the guy next to Trey?" And they were like, "You pick Zach to be the guy." I was like, did you pick Zach to be the guy, or did you pick Zach because he can play next to Trey and a guy, right? Because he's a portable player. And Dyson, right? He's a guy that can play next to Trey and a guy. So you put yourself in a position to do something if you need to. Jalen might make that jump, but if he doesn't, then maybe you do look at something around the deadline. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to rush it, but yeah, they're definitely looking, right? So.
And if it's one thing with Ricochet that we learned this season is he's versatile. Like when he gets stronger, he's most likely going to be able to play the 2 through 4 at some point in his career. So even if he doesn't turn into that second scorer on a championship level team, which that's definitely remains to be seen. There are definitely valid questions beyond that because he's mostly just been a shooter this season. But even if he doesn't become that, you still have a valuable piece that can play around one or two other guys that are your main offensive weapons.
I think one thing the Hawks should definitely look at too is they really need that six man of the year candidate to come off the bench. And that really needs to be a wing guy. Like it definitely needs to be a guy that can split minutes playing in Zach's spot and in Jalen's spot.
I think sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was going to say 2 starting level players maybe need to be coming off the bench for this team, considering how young they are with Dyson and Zach.
Yeah, you just got to hit right on them, and that's the biggest thing. You got to find them before they pop, because if you find them after they pop, the price tag is what gets you.
And Johnson's my new Danilo Gallinari. Now I just need another Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Basically,
I mean that's another one as well.
Yeah, 2 starters. 2 starters.
Yeah, for them. And that's the reason I'm like talking about like Cam Johnson when I brought it up earlier is like he would be a guy that like if you had him coming off your bench, spelling Ricochet and spelling Jalen Johnson, I mean he's gonna light it up from 3. He's a good defender. He can handle physicality. I think that's a prototype of what you're looking for. But I don't know. I mean, his price tag might be a little bit more pricey than what the Hawks want to spend right now.
Yeah, because I mean, the Nets were able to get literally everything they want from Mikal Bridges.
Well, that's
and more probably.
He wanted to go there, so they had to deal with him.
Yeah,
that's true.
They made their own version of the DJ trade. We'll see how it works out for the Knicks. I mean, they made a couple of 3. They used all their picks.
They still got a few.
How is that even possible?
They're fake.
They got like 3 picks, but I don't think they'll. 2 or 3 of them have to convey. So I don't know.
They're gonna lose in the first round anyway.
I think so too.
I guess the Pistons. They're playing the Pistons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play
I don't.
tomorrow at 1. I will be.
I
in
said it. I
attendance.
said it earlier. I said this is Cade's Eastern Conference Finals. This is his Eastern Conference.
Yeah, man. They're gonna put Thompson
Like
on
it's
Brunson,
so
and
obvious.
Cade's gonna go off.
No,
That matchup, the one matchup in that game that I can't wait to watch is Jalen Duren versus Cat. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch because I think Jalen Duren is kind of slept on a little bit by a lot of guys.
He
and
is. He's
he-
definitely.
Man
He's
child.
definitely.
If
He's
he learns how to play
definitely.
basketball, dog, it's gonna be
Yeah.
scary.
I'll say this
He's
about Jalen
having
Duren.
a very good season.
He started off so poor this season, and then just
But-
it's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that the Pistons were so good in the second half of the season because he figured out how to defend. Like
Mhm.
it's not a coincidence.
It's literally what happened.
Big, strong dude, man.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to hear "Hey" all every 30 seconds because you know Cat.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Ow!
For the last question I have is I want to talk a bit about Trey's extension because now that our season's over, we can talk a little bit about extension talks. Trey is available, or not said available, is eligible for a 4-year, $229 million extension. That is a lot of money. So, do you think after
Repeat
this
that number? Was that 429? You said?
not 429 million? I think I muddled it up.
So I was
Sorry,
like,
yeah,
that
I
is
muddled it up.
a lot.
4 years, 4 years, 229 million.
Okay.
4 years,
Anthony
229 million.
said
math is
Anthony
math.
said he was gonna get a two year
Trey's going to put him in the luxury tag by himself.
Yeah, I y'all know how I speak. Yeah,
That's the super
I-
max
I'm-
Wemby gonna get in the
yeah.
future.
That happens, bro.
Yeah, I know. Like, but basically, that's the contract he's gonna get, right? Do you guys think that the Hawks are even gonna offer him that maximum amount of money, or do you think they're gonna like try to lowball him, or do you think they're gonna possibly just even, just not even gonna give him any money, or just let him just figure out free agency? I'm gonna ask you, Tim.
Yeah. So I think the Hawks are going to offer him whatever, whatever the max is. And ultimately, what I think that Trey's going to do, and, I think he's going to turn it down because Trey Young is a guy that's always going to bet on himself. And so he's going to go into that final year of the deal and try to get the Supermax.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so, but also, I heard this brought up earlier. I think it was on Twitter. I heard that, do you think Trey will wait and see if the Hawks make a move before he signs his extension and kind of force the hand that way? If not, then maybe he decides something else.
I think that would make sense because I mean, if they make the move, if they signs the extension, right, that means like, they're serious about like actually making this a competitive team and championship. But like at the same time, obviously you want to like bet on yourself because if this is seriously a championship team, you're gonna be like all NBA and stuff, and you were gonna get more money. So I think that's actually a really interesting question. I mean, if I'm Trey and I find out they're going to be making a big move in the offseason, I would just take the money now because honestly, because I won't like risk any injuries or stuff. So that's
Would you
just
take
me.
it? Would you take it now though before they make the move, or would you wait until after they make the move?
You gotta know
See-
the plan. You gotta trust them, right?
Yeah, I would have to trust them. And I mean, considering like how they've been like the past my whole time, right? I wouldn't necessarily trust them, but I mean, like, who doesn't like all that money? Like,
Well, he doesn't have to sign
yeah, he doesn't have to
this
sign it.
offseason.
But I mean,
would
like,
say there's a lot of people that want Trey to take a pay cut, and I'm like, tell him who you want to get, and then we can talk, right? That's
Yeah.
you want me to take a discount? Like, let me know what the deal is.
I'm taking a discount for what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
For who, especially? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if they were like Devin Booker, they would be understandable.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
if you're going to get like a big name like that, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like,
Mhm.
but he's not going to just take a discount because you want him to take a discount. Like you're going to have to prove to him that you're all in at that point.
Gotta go all in, man. Or don't.
But yeah, that's gonna be interesting to talk about in the off season. We'll see if Trey even thinks about signing it. But once again, why don't y'all tell us where we can follow you, Tim and Mikey.
Yeah. So you guys can follow us on X at Ethos Hawks. We will have a lot of off-season content, whether that's draft, free agency, Hawks rumors, summer league. That's all going to be on the podcast over there. So make sure you go over on X, follow Ethos Hawks, and we're going to be getting great content out for you guys this off-season. Thanks for having us on, guys, as well. It's a lot of fun.
No problem.
Works.
Yeah,
No problem.
And
yeah.
us.
Thank you, Hank,
Oh, my bad.
for having us
Thank
on.
you.
You're good. Yeah, thank you for having us on, and yeah, it's always a blast to get on here and talk basketball with y'all. So anytime you want us to drop by, man, just let us know.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you all to the listeners who've been listening to Hard Knock Hawks this entire season and for making this a successful first season for us. We are going to be continuing, obviously, through off season with draft takes, off season takes, trade ideas, all of that fun stuff. So make sure to also follow and like and share this podcast. Enjoy me, Chris, Leon, and Marco and the gang as we do more stuff this off season. It sucks the Hawks got eliminated, but we'll still get do a bunch of stuff. So it's gonna be a good summer. What else I was gonna say? Oh, I was gonna end it. My bad. But thank you all once again for listening to our Hard Knock Hawks. I will see you all in the next podcast. So we're gonna do our last Hawk
Oh,
talk.
Hawks.
Kobe
oh.
Bumpkin will save us. Kobe Bumpkin will
Hey.
save us.